their houses. And I also want to again express our appreciation to the originators of the legislation that made this possible, Senator Rockefeller and Congresswoman Capps. And I want to applaud the chairman of the Bureau for expediting the processing of this order and allowing us to get that done today. But there are many, many other problems still confronting us, from the broken coupon program to reception issues to call centers. You know, we talked about 2.2 million calls coming in the course of a year. But think about 2.2 million calls coming in a couple of days, and it gives you an idea of the magnitude of the problem that we ought to be preparing for, and that is conceivable. So I wish we were a little farther along in putting the final pieces of the puzzle together and fitting them together. But that's a discussion for another day. What I do want to emphasize here is there have been extraordinary efforts on the part of staff of your Bureau and all the bureaus and volunteers stepping up to the plate on DTV. And I've been out in the field with a lot of these folks, and they are working so hard to establish contacts. They're doing everything that's been asked of them, and I think are reflecting really well on the commission. And I applaud their sense of public service, and I hope we can step up and give them the equipment and the tools and the time that they need to get this job done, so we can have a more seamless transition than the one that appears we may now have. I'm glad to see we made some progress on the early termination fees, but I got to tell you, they're not gone yet. My youngest son's cell phone died this week, and he's got to have that because he's out job hunting and socializing and doing all this other stuff, and he's like an alien, disoriented human being right now without his wireless phone. But he thought, gee, I'd like to, as long as the phone's dead, I might as well upgrade and get a better phone. He's willing to pay for it. So he goes to the store yesterday, and they say, you know, if you want to upgrade that phone, that means you got to get out of the plan you're in, and that'll cost you $135 or $150, whatever it is, and then you get a new plan, and then you get the phone you want. So I hope we can continue to move against that. But thank you all for your presentations. And I see Matthew sitting over here, sitting through all of this, and we ought to single him out because he gets involved in all of this stuff that's going on and tries to keep us on the straight and narrow, which is sometimes one heck of a challenge. And we thank him for his efforts day in and day out.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Ellison.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Helen, for your presentation. I think of you with the earlier panel, and the rest of these folks, I think about DTV, all the field operations that from all three of you that have helped us as we go on the road. But Helen, what you do is so important, and you've had a big year of very diligent work you and your staff have done with a lot of accomplishments this year as you recounted them. I'm especially pleased that we were able to increase the amount of spectrum for CDMA operators of MSS systems so they can provide ATC service. So when I first began with it, the commission, I was glad we made some progress. That'll help them offer advanced wireless services and really help, I think, in rural areas as well. So I appreciate the work you've done on, we saw how many non-routine earth station applications that you processed. It's certainly obvious that satellite facilities provide another platform for broadband services, and they're really well situated for rural areas. So thanks for all that you've done to keep the trains moving on time down there. Finally, I know just yesterday we began our implementation of the 2011 World Radio Conference, the work, and I look forward to working with you and the Bureau on that in the coming year. And as far as ETV and the Media Bureau, lively indeed, I would say. and I think it will be continued liveliness is the forecast. At the Media Bureau, I certainly appreciate all the work you've done and the Bureau has done over the last years. You've had to work so many late nights and mornings, weekends. It's been incredible with all the work. In addition to the DTV issue, you certainly deserve our thanks for that and all of your staff. We made some progress in promoting competition. I think there's a lot more to be done. We at least addressed some of these issues in the context of the media ownership order, and we started good effort on that, and we have a lot more to do. On DTV, of course, that's always been at the top of our priorities, and you've met those demands, I think, with all the different items that we've done on DTV as we've gone up to it. and it's going to continue to take a lot of your time and effort, I think appropriately so. I am very concerned that we're not where we need to be still on that. And I know it's not because the staff hasn't worked hard. I'm just not sure we had the right plan in place. It's hard to get it right when you don't have a plan. But we have, I think, really dedicated staff that's worked very hard to try to do that and to inform our decision-making process and make sure that we stay on track. I'm glad we got that nightlight bill out today. I certainly commend Senator Rockefeller and Congresswoman Capps for getting that legislation to us to ensure that people can continue to receive some type of information after the transition as far as what, why their TV went out, and we are doing our best to get that out immediately. I think it was a good job in a very short period of time getting that order together and getting it out. One issue I think deserves highlighting in light of the fact that Arbitron has settled with the states of New York and New Jersey that we need to launch an immediate investigation to protect the minority broadcasters in all radio markets throughout the U.S. We see that those who reside in states where attorney generals have been very aggressive are now being protected because of these settlements with the attorneys general of those states. Our responsibility is to the entire United States. I think there's clearly an issue given the fact that there have been large and important settlements in these states to ensure that all Americans are protected and that diversity over the airwaves continues to be protected. We can draw upon the investigations that were conducted by those states in order to move rapidly on our own investigation and determine whether or not minority broadcasters are being disadvantaged by this technology. We want it to be accurate, and we need to ensure that it is accurate, and to the degree it is not, it's having a potentially deleterious effect on very underrepresented groups in America today. So I would recommend that we move forward quickly on that. I thank you for your hard work this year. Next to the hard work of the CGB staff, you were not long ago considered the new kid on the block, and now you're the central aspect of our central front on our national DTV effort. And I can say that under your leadership, Kathy, that CGB staff have really risen to the challenge. And all of the bureaus, not only the ones represented here, but we have volunteers from across many different bureaus that are out there in the field today working hard with the assistance of EB field staff and volunteers from all the different bureaus. I think you're doing a good job under very difficult circumstances. I know that there's a lot of challenges ahead. We have the call center operation. I concur with the sentiments of my colleague, Commissioner McDowell, who I thought sent an important letter identifying some of his concerns that I share about the status of the call centers. We have a lot of work to do, and as Commissioner Kopp said, we could be receiving millions of calls in the first week, and I'm not sure we're prepared for that. But we hopefully will rise to the challenge in the little less than a month that we have left. Today, Hawaii is going. I was out there in Hawaii, and we'll get a good little test there. It's a relatively small number of people that have over-the-air television. We had a really good effort on the ground in Hawaii and really good leadership out there, and we'll see what we can learn from what happens there today. I also want to commend the Disability Rights Team for their efforts to improve communications for the deaf and hard hearing. We made some major progress this year on that. And to the EB staff, thanks for all your hard work this year. I've been serious about going after violations of all our rules, and you've been excellent in negotiating tough but fair consent decrees in these instances. Of course, the Payola investigation was very important to me. I was glad we were able to get large settlements and put in place consent decrees. The VNR items are outstanding, and we can continue to work on those. There's a lot of work left to be done in our sponsorship ID rules. We have a pending order on that as well. We have a pending rulemaking, I should say, that we need to bring to an order to clarify our sponsorship ID rules and ensure that everything is full and fair. As I said earlier, I've been traveling across the country to talk about the DTV transition, and your field staff have been great, as have the CGB staff and the Media Bureau staff we've worked with, and even those volunteers from other bureaus, whether I was in New York or San Francisco or Oakland, Portland, Yakima, Spokane, Seattle, Coeur d'Alene, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, San Diego, El Centro, Yuma, or tomorrow, Charleston, West Virginia. The EB field staff have been really wonderful, and on the ground they've really provided us a great head start in getting the word out and really helped me, particularly in my travels throughout the United States and trying to get the country ready for something that we have yet a little bit of work to do on. So thank you for all that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Commissioner McDowell?
Thank you, Chairman Martin. And I see we have our special guests back, Luke and Will. So in recognition that we have a limited amount of time here, I'm going to severely truncate my remarks. I'm the father of 3 little kids myself, so I understand what we're dealing with. So I will, one of the great things about going last all the time is I can incorporate many of the wonderful things that some of my colleagues have said. So I'll do that just by, however. Thank you all very much for your incredible hard work. These 4 chiefs in particular have some of the most thankless jobs and the Bureau staff that they work with. Submarine cables, not necessarily the most glamorous subject matter, but extremely important for the globe's, the world's communications infrastructure, for instance. And DTV, the 2 of you there in the middle, I'm not going to talk about the substance of DTV or whenever the heck it's going to happen, but it is a thankless job, and you all have worked tirelessly on it. And I've traveled to I don't know how many markets across the country at this point, and have worked with a lot of your colleagues there in CGB and the Media Bureau and other bureaus as well. And they've all been working very, very hard. So we want to thank you for that in particular. And Chris Monteith, as I've said before, puts the teeth in enforcement. And so we want to thank her for all those thousands. Those are just mind-boggling numbers we saw there. And again, some of those tasks can be very, very thankless. And then they get appealed. And so thank you, Matthew, for defending what Chris does in court, and wish you the best of luck in the ongoing appeals. So incredibly hard work. Thank you all very much. And then I see that Luke and Will are telling me my time is up, so I will pass it on to Chairman Martin.
Thank you, Commissioner McDowell, and thank all of you all for your presentations and all of the hard work. As Commissioner McDowell said, Helen, some of the issues that the International Bureau deals with aren't as glamorous like some of the technical issues surrounding submarine cables, but a lot of them are very critical. And what's really critical is trying to get our message out across the globe. And the work that you've had with all of the commissioners at the international forums like the OECD and ITU have been really critical in helping us do that, and helping us actually try to get a message out about what we're doing and helping us learn from what others are doing, and both are critically important. And I also think it's important to recognize that one of the reasons why Helen was up here along with all the others is that they do have a critical role to play in helping us coordinate on the DTV side with our border countries in Canada and Mexico, and so we've appreciated that. And Monica, obviously the DTV transition has been a critical part of what the Media Bureau has been focused on and what you've been focused on, both from the Consumer and Governmental Affairs side and from the media side. But really it's been a tireless set of work across a whole host of media issues, as you did in your presentation. Increasing additional access to news and information, increasing competition to help consumers with the high cable rates, and trying to encourage everything we can about increasing video competition, have all been critical issues that we've appreciated yours and the entire Bureau's work on. I do see Eloise, who's here, and I want to thank her as well, and Peter, both are 2 of the staffers who I have relied upon in a lot of the hard technical decisions we've had to make, either on the radio or the DTV side, and that's both been critical in their institutional history to put context into some of the decisions that the Commission's made have been very helpful in the past, and I can't appreciate theirs and all of the staff's efforts. I can't say enough about appreciation for all of theirs and the staff efforts. Kathy and Chris, you all are on the front lines of dealing with the consumers in every way, both on the incoming issues that are coming in on trying to enforce our rules. It's been incredible what the staff has been willing to end up doing and trying to go out and dedicate and work to educate consumers, particularly about the DTV transition. And that's been staff from both of your bureaus coordinating closely to end up doing. The commission was only given $20 million to both educate everyone about the transition and to handle the call center issues that people have been talking about. And it's really a limited amount of money that we've been able to utilize. And we wouldn't have been able to get the message out so successfully if it hadn't been for what the staff was willing to do, in particular the field offices and the people that were willing to go out and travel throughout the country and help all of us traveling around. As Commissioner McDowell said, I know we've all traveled everywhere. He's been to Alaska, Montana. Commissioner Copps was just in Detroit. I was in Indiana and Ohio. Commissioner Adelstein, I'm not sure how he gets these assignments, but he's been in California, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. That's a separate issue.
Charleston, 18 degrees
We are, but with getting the message out with all of the staff's efforts, we will end up making sure that everyone does seem to know about the transition. And as I said, we have spent about half of that money on that, about $10 million. But really, that wouldn't have been nearly enough without the efforts of all the staff. And similarly with the call center issues, we've been running the call center at our maximum capacity with the internal resources we have at our call center. We will spend the other $10 million on outsourcing it, but we've been wanting to maximize the capacity to handle those incoming calls around the DTV transition, as Commissioner McDowell said, around whatever date that is. So that we'll be spending that $10 million on a contractor who can maximize the number of calls coming in around that. Because as Commissioner Kopp said that you're talking about, it'll be probably several million calls around that week of the transition. I also want to thank all of you all for the help in Wilmington as well. Actually, the Wilmington transition was something that was particularly important for us to be able to learn from and take experiences as we go forward. And so I think that was particularly helpful. And overall, Chris, all of our efforts by the policy bureaus on adopting rules to try to protect consumers would be for naught without the enforcement efforts to enforce those rules. And we have done a great job, whether it's enforcing consumers and protecting consumers' access to the internet or protecting their privacy. And as you indicated, we've actually done more enforcement actions over the last 4 years with $151 million in enforcement actions than under any chairman before. So I've appreciated your efforts and your focus on trying to respond to every complaint, as we've talked about many times, as being our important mantra. And so with that, I do want to thank again all of you all, and if you could thank all of the staffs as well. At this point in the meeting, we'll turn to our announcements. So let me go first, if I can. I've had the privilege and honor of being here at the Commission for 8 years, 4 years as chairman, and it has been a privilege and honor to work with everyone here, including all of my colleagues. And it's been a particularly important time and period for the industry as they've undergone tremendous change. And so speaking of change, I think one thing that's important to point out that I think people may have misunderstood something. When the incoming administration said they wanted to delay the transition, I don't think they were talking about DTV. I think they were talking about here. But with that, I've certainly consulted with my family and think that it is time for me to end up making another change. So I will end up be announcing today that I'll be moving on from the commission as well. And I certainly think there's a lot that we can end up being proud of, or that we've all been able to accomplish over the last little bit. Whether as was highlighted by all the presentations that we had today, whether it was the increasing of broadband capability and capacity and subscribership from 5 million subscribers to over 100, what we've been able to do on increasing rural health care and the ability for people to be connecting and taking advantage of telemedicine. On the wireless side, really ushering in a whole wireless era of broadband connectivity. The two most successful auctions the Commission's ever had, and taking on the contentious issue of how we can increase unlicensed use to spectrum on the white spaces side. Increasing across the board, video competition in the video side, and the wireless side, and the wireline space. Working critically on public safety issues like making sure everyone can pick up the phone and dial 911 and get access to the local police and local fire department. And all the hard work that all of us have done on the digital television transition. And most important, despite the contentiousness that people have had over the years and on a whole variety of issues, we've also had a lot of fun. And I've appreciated everyone's efforts in trying to end up doing that. And I think that we wouldn't have been able to do any of that, and the American people wouldn't have been able to benefit from it if it wasn't for the hard work of all the employees here and the talented people that have been here at the Commission. And certainly during the past 8 years at the Commission, I've had the pleasure to witness the staff's dedication to public service. And their willingness, and really has been awe-inspiring, of commitment to work long, hard hours at great personal sacrifice. As one of the other commissioners said, to make us try to look good, they've been able to put those sacrifices in. And I think all of us would, want to express our gratitude and appreciation to all the staff for their work, certainly that I've seen over the last 8 years. I also do want to take a moment and thank all my colleagues on the Commission including Commissioner Tate, who left, who we all thanked before. Certainly, Rob and Jonathan, each of you deserved thanks for the commitments you've made for public service. And while we all don't ever agree on all of the issues, I think the importance of sharing each other's advice and counsel makes the decision-making process better and ultimately benefits everyone in the country. I do want to have a special word of thanks to my friend Commissioner Copps, Mike Copps. Hold on, Will, you're coming. We've been on the commission together since we arrived. We went through the first confirmation process together. In Mike Copps hasn't shied away from challenging all of us to make their best case for what's in the public interest. In the past 8 years, we've not always seen eye to eye, but one thing's for certain: when he ever gave his word on something, that was rock solid. And so I want to thank him for that personally. I want to thank all of the bureau and office chiefs for the work that they've done, the daily business that we couldn't have gotten done without their efforts. The chiefs are, like I said, selflessly dedicated, like all the staff, to lead their respective teams in the pursuit of our accomplishments with utmost professionalism. Now, given the time constraints, I can't do justice to their accomplishments or to all of them. But let me take a few moments and thank some that I think are particularly important. Monica Desai for first taking up the charge of CGB, and who's been tireless in her issues, both at CGB and at the Media Bureau. And that level of energy brought to both of those was really important. And her constant dedication to being pro-consumer, I've always appreciated. Chris and Kathy, as I said, your leadership on the front lines is one of the most difficult things that the commission ends up facing. And both of you have worked very hard to reinvigorate the ability of people to contact the commission and get answers, and then for us to enforce actions. And as I've emphasized to both of you all the time, the difficulty of responding to each one of those concerns and complaints is critical, but that's been tireless, and it is at times a thankless job, but I really appreciate it, and I want to thank you. Tony Dale and Mindy Ginsburg, for introducing the commission the first time to kind of enhance financial accountability, and the first time the commission's ever gotten successful clean audits, and have really tried to help lead the efforts to modernize our IT infrastructure, but who more importantly than that have been able to help all of us focus on the critical policy issues that we wouldn't be able to do without the commission running as smoothly as it does with you all's help. Jim Schlichting, who was here earlier, and Fred Campbell, I don't know if Fred is here, but good, see him in the back, for all that they ended up helping us do on the wireless side. As I said before, the most successful auctions the commission has ever had, and opening up a significant amount of spectrum for people to be able to take advantage of wireless broadband going forward. Both of you all's guidance and stewardship on those issues have been critical. And Julie Knapp, as I said, has been an important component of that as well. As I said the other day at the Consumer Electronics Show, he's, I think, the epitome in my mind of the reliance we have on the expertise here at the staff, and of our willingness to trust their advice on very technical issues is critical to enable the policy decisions to be made by the folks here at the Commission. To Dana, who is here. I think she's actually holding my son Will for that, and for advancing the deregulation, and really for Tom Navin as well, who I hope is here somewhere, for both of you all's help and shepherding us through the probably somewhat of the most complex and contentious issues that the Commission faces in terms of telecommunications, and for doing so and helping us restructure the industry so that it's certainly healthier today than it was when we all took over. To Derek Porch, again, for his willingness to move up here from North Carolina and bring his family, and for doing an outstanding job in helping us establish the Public Safety and Homeland Security Bureau. Matthew, I'm glad everybody actually finally recognized you. You sit there quietly through it all, but the critical role that you play is important. And to Sam for his really guidance throughout the early part of my chairmanship, and the keen intellect and certainly expert legal skills that they bring. It has been invaluable and vital to the entire commission. Helen on the international side, and Dina Funderburk, who I hope is here from our legislative affairs, for all of you all's hard work. I think it's even more important for me to take a moment to thank the motivated and personal staff that I and what they've been willing to end up doing with their hard work, energy, enthusiasm, and patience for me. That's probably the most critical component of what you end up needing to end up having and working in my office. And Lori and Vivette have been working with me for years, since before I was chairman, since I was a commissioner. Thank you, and thank you for all you've done to help me help our office function. None of us would have been able to do anything if you hadn't made it run so effectively, and so I appreciate all that you all have done for me and for my family, as well as you all were sitting there with all my children as well. Anne, who's an intern in our office, who I haven't had a chance to introduce at any of the open meetings. She's been great about. She's from North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Sorry, Rob, and has been willing to jump in on so many different issues. Thank you for yours. Let me, with the other personal staff, let me start by thanking Michelle Carey, who a consummate professional who I've known since I was a staffer here several years ago. She was able to master two of the most complex and difficult subject areas, wireline and media, and serving as the senior legal advisor, taking on all of those responsibilities, and that was been really critical. And thank you, Michelle, for all of your hard work. To Krista Witnowski and Elizabeth Andron, who helped fill in when Michelle was also taking time off to have some of her own children, and for all of their work. Krista, thank you particularly for Wilmington. We couldn't have gotten Wilmington done if it wasn't for your hard work. And Elizabeth as well for constantly filling in whenever we needed anything across the board. On the wireless and international side, whether it was Aaron Goldberger, after Fred, whether it was Aaron Goldberger, Erica, who helped us on wireless issues, and Charles Mathias most recently, all of you all have done an outstanding job. And I've appreciated all of the long hours that you all have had to put in to help us move forward. Thank you all for all of your efforts over the years. And similarly, Ian Dillner and Amy Bender, both two young attorneys, very bright, very talented, who have got terrific careers, I'm sure, still here in front of them. All of them have shown wisdom and good judgment beyond their years, and thanks for your help in that. I want to thank Heather Dixon, who worked in my office but who's not here, and who left several years ago, but she was certainly someone who worked very hard as well on media issues. Mark Stone, who's been helping out relatively recently on all the DTV efforts. Emily Williford, who was here when I was a commissioner, who was here when I was first chairman, and who worked on international issues. I appreciate certainly all of her hard work. Tamara Lipper, who I'm not sure if Tamara's here. I don't see her. She's probably off, as she always is, busy trying to help me with the preparing and working with the press, which has got its own challenges. I really want to thank her and for her personal friendship and for the work that she's been able to do and helping over the years, along with all the folks who helped me out on the press side, whether it's Matt from yesterday in North Carolina, Clyde, Edie, Mary, and Rob, all of whom have done an outstanding job, and I appreciate all of their efforts. And finally, let me thank Sam, Catherine, and Dan, who I think are all here. Sam, I've already talked about his legal skills, but he was actually also an important friend. Was the first person to arrive in the office when I became a commissioner. While he ended up leaving earlier, I'll forgive him for that. But he has but he did do a great job when he was here, and he's, while still missed, we appreciate all of his work. Catherine, who I think is Catherine here. Catherine, who helped me actually going through the original confirmation process, and who I've known since I was a first-year law school student. Thanks for all of her hard work and all of her friendship throughout the years. I probably always knew how important you were to functioning, but I've appreciated it even more since she left just in August. As at times I've certainly struggled and missed you at every turn since then. So thanks for all of the 8 years you spent trying to help me, and I've appreciated it. And then finally to Dan, who probably has the most thankless job for making all of the commission continue to function, who's actually been a terrific chief of staff, who's done a fantastic job, and who's more important, been a great friend. And I appreciate his loyalty throughout all the years. And finally, I want to thank my family for Kathy and Will and Luke for letting me have the chance to perform this incredible service, because it has been a great honor and a privilege. And Luke, if you want to come up, we can bang the gavel together one last time. He said he wanted to earlier, but we'll see. Oh, well, you know what? Actually, well, you know what? If the other commissioners want to make some other announcements, then we'll do it from it.
Well, we can have an unofficial.
You want to?
We do it twice.
You want to bang the gavel and then go sit back down? You want to hear? You want to do it? We'll do it again. You want to bang it? All right. You want to stay with me? You want to go sit?
Or so mommy.
You want to go sit with mommy? Okay. All right.
That was done with real authority, I tell you. Chip off the old block. That was a historic, dramatic announcement in the history of this commission, and a poignant one for me personally. As Kevin said, he and I arrived here about the same time, just about simultaneously. We went through the Senate confirmation process together in 2001, but someone over in the White House screwed up his paperwork, and I got the seniority edge on him by a few days, but he trumped that a few years later by becoming chairman. We were different ages, and we had different backgrounds and different political affiliations, and sometimes very different underlying ideas about how best to serve the public interest, but we have been through a lot together, and there were frequent instances when I am pleased to say we were able to find common ground. I go back first to the now famous and eventually infamous Triennial Review, which brought us together as we fought for what we thought Congress meant when it instructed the Commission to encourage competition in the telephone industry. We developed early on a shared concern over the excesses of violence and family-unfriendly fare on the broadcast airwaves. Later, we found some common ground on public safety, and I watched Kevin as chairman put public safety front and center here at the commission, which is exactly where it had long needed to be. And I believe that his leadership after Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast will surely be remembered as one of the highlights of his, or really any, chairmanship. And I know our friend Dan helped a lot in that too, but that was a signal accomplishment. We made progress together on instituting and enforcing internet openness principles, and took first steps down a road toward a network neutrality regime. We pushed for a more open wireless marketplace, and we pulled together trying to make the Wilmington, North Carolina DTV transition a success. None of this is to paper over our very real differences on many matters of substance and process, with media consolidation and broadband competition policy and commission processes. Those things come to mind, but this is not the time or place to visit things divisive. Sometimes Kevin confounded commission watchers by putting forward ideas no one would have predicted. This made some folks happy, some folks unhappy, and some downright frantic, but it could also be very refreshing, and to his credit, his proposals often challenged his fellow commissioners to really get under the hood and examine their own premises and their own presuppositions. And I also welcomed his efforts to increase the number of public hearings, commission hearings around the country on such issues as media ownership and net neutrality. It's no secret that I would have liked even more of those hearings, but the record is that under Kevin, he did get the commission out of Washington and hear from the public and from experts on public policy issues where such comment was sorely needed. Over the years, Kevin and I have had some very candid discussions with the bark off, as Lyndon Johnson used to say, as we sought common ground on contentious matters. We quickly discovered that we could talk very candidly with one another, respect confidences, and not infrequently find ways to move forward. And when our discussions did not yield agreement, we disagreed without being disagreeable. And when we told each other what we were going to do, that's generally what happened. We understood that we came to a lot of issues with fundamentally different ideas about what the commission ought to be doing and how to ought to be doing it, but we recognized that each of us believed in our individual approaches. This didn't resolve all problems, so don't read more into this than I'm saying, but it allowed us to build a working relationship and to move forward with the business of the commission, and I think it was helpful. And we should always remember that those high noon moments at the commission, when the cameras pack this room and the media is hanging on every uttered word and perceived nuance and body language at the podium, and everyone is waiting to see who's going to draw their Colt 45 first. That's not the daily norm around this place. Probably 90% or more of what the commission decides, it decides through consensus. And our discussions are not duels in the sun, but more often searches for understanding the facts of a case or the meaning of a statute or the arcana of legislative history. Kevin Martin will surely be a player no matter where he is on the issues to which he has devoted so much time and energy at the FCC, and I look forward to his input, and I hope to many opportunities to work together in the years ahead. He's had a busy time of it here as a staffer, as a commissioner, and as chairman. He works long, and he works hard, and he brings keen and creative intelligence to whatever he does. And I can only imagine that these have been very demanding years for Kevin and Kathy and their 2 and soon to be 3 children. And the prospect of having at least a little more relaxed pace must look very attractive to them. As a matter of fact, I thought I detected waves of liberation on your face as you made your announcement today. But my wife Beth and I certainly want to wish you and Kathy and your growing family all good things on the road ahead. We look forward to continuing the friendship that we have developed here. I thank him for his many courtesies to me, for the kind words that he just uttered, and I look forward to his continued contributions on all of these important communications dialogues, which are going to have so much to do with the future of our country. So I want to wish you the best, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. John?
Well, thank you. I just added that this meeting really marks the close of a chapter here at the commission. The last meeting with this chairman sitting in the center seat, and you've been here since I first got here as well. And we've had a lot we've done together, so much that has been accomplished in the last 4 years. It's hard to believe it was really 4 years ago to assume the chairmanship, and we've been here together now my entire 6 years on the commission, and during that time we've grappled with some of the most pressing and difficult issues that have faced the country and our sector particularly. The road wasn't always easy, and we weren't always able to bridge the gaps, but I'm glad we were always able to do so in a warm and friendly fashion, a professional manner. We've never taken our differences personally. We've always had a good relationship. We've remained friends. We were friends at the beginning, and we're friends today. People sometimes look at some of the contentiousness of some of the issues, and they might be surprised that never a word was spoken in anger between us, ever, not once. And we've been very upfront with each other. I think we've been able to, in our communications, lay out what the situation is, see where we could find common ground. And as Commissioner Kopp said, for the most part, the agency functions by consensus. Most of what we do, we work out together, and most of it goes forward. And it's those few issues where there's some differences of opinion that, for some reason, these folks over here like to focus on, and they get all the attention. Sometimes they are the big issues. Sometimes they're made bigger because there's disagreement on issues. And sometimes huge issues that there's consensus on don't get as much attention, precisely because we agree and we move forward. And the Bureau reports today reflected some of the progress we've made on broadband, on wireless, on international, on DTV. There's still ways to go on those things, but you think about all the things we've done together and all the progress that we've made. Today, of course, you highlighted the rural health care issue, which we all did together. And again, probably undersung because it was such a consensus. Here was something that we all came together on. It was your initiative. We all applauded it at the time, and look at the profound difference that it's made. We were able to crack down on payola and sponsorship ID violations, something that we worked on together, and I think made a lot of progress and put together in place agreements that will prevent that from happening in the future. We've improved our broadband data collection efforts. increased access to communications for individuals with disabilities. I think a real focus of yours has been worrying about those issues of people with disabilities that haven't always gotten the attention. And of course, Monica, you've been in that no matter which bureau you're in, and all of the leadership that you've shown on that has been fantastic. Of course, this is one of the few agencies that got kudos for its response to Katrina, and not like some unnamed commissions that start with the same letter as ours. We did well, and subsequently have really been able to get a handle on these public safety and emergency communications issues. It's been a real focus of yours, and I think we've been able, as a result, to respond better, and we're in a better position to respond to emergencies going forward. So you deserve real kudos from the American people as well as from us for your leadership on these and so many other issues. You've always proven yourself an intelligent, energetic, and committed colleague. I've admired your tactical flexibility. One thing about you is that you're always willing to try something new and different. Like the idea of having the person here today, I thought it was helpful. It's not something that's traditionally done, but the field hearings that we've held, a lot of them were not traditional, but they were moving in the right direction, really getting us out of the Beltway and hearing from people in ways that are creative and new and different, and not necessarily sticking to the old ways, but trying new things and shaking it up a little here at the Commission. Those have been helpful. I think you've worked awfully hard, and I know how hard you worked. I sometimes go home quite late myself, and I'm always amazed to see your car's usually still there. I think about the sacrifice that your family made, who's here today, and Kathy. Of course, you had an impressive career, and you have an impressive job right now with those kids. And I know how much sacrifice it entails for you and the children to have such a dedicated public servant as a husband. I know you probably look forward to seeing a little bit more of him, hopefully. But that might not be the case given what a type A person he is, but at least for a little while. And I want to thank you and your family for all the time, effort, and sacrifices you've made in all of the public service and all the progress you've made on behalf of the United States. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, John.
Well, once again, all the good lines have been taken. So I've been out here, scratching out different things in my statement. But I think it's safe to say, Kevin, that you've been a prolific chairman. Not only the hundreds, thousands, when you count the Enforcement Bureau, thousands of items, but 3 children during your tenure. I think that's, so I guess you've been able to find some time at home, apparently. So that's wonderful, and we do know, as we all have very understanding spouses and children at home, what a big sacrifice it really, really is, and I mean that very, very personally. And so without you all, none of this could happen. So thank you, Kathy and Luke and Will and baby number 3. Have you decided on a name yet, by the way? You don't know the sex, I guess, yet. So anyway, you're not going to tell me. But public service positions are incredibly demanding, and the chairmanship of the FCC, being chairman, is by orders of magnitude harder than being a commissioner, and you know that firsthand. I first met you when you were a legal advisor to Harold Furchtgau Roth. I might have met you before, but anyway, I think it was around that time. And then you became a commissioner. And so you know the difference between being a commissioner and being a chairman. All we have to do is swing at each pitch. You have to actually offer up the pitch. And that's very, very difficult, and we understand that. And you have been incredibly energetic, very intellectual, obviously incredibly hardworking, and that the American people have been well served by your intellect. We have accomplished together many things. Actions to eliminate unreasonable barriers to entry in the video marketplace, I think, has directly resulted in the deployment of fiber, as your studies have shown, and more video competition, but also that helps broadband as well, and that deserves recognition. To classify wireless broadband as an information service. At the same time, wireless broadband is growing by leaps and bounds, thousands of percent penetration rates per year. To open up the TV white spaces, that's truly revolutionary, and we still have a ways to go to refine all that, but we broke the sound barrier thanks to your leadership in that. And of course, to help rural healthcare providers, among many things. We could be here for quite some time. So it's been stimulating and exhausting for all of us, but energizing. I'm sure this has been the best job you've ever had. Hopefully it won't be the best job you ever have, but you're only 42, for crying out loud. Yeah, so that's ridiculous. Okay. So you got a lot of great jobs ahead of you still. But my entire staff wanted to convey their thanks and congratulations to you and your family and to your staff personally for all the hard work and all your accomplishments. And congratulations.
Thanks, Rob. Oh. And again, thanks everyone for all their hard work and for everything they've done. And until the next meeting, we're adjourned.